There's a question that I ask every leader that I work with, and it's not what's your leadership style, and it's not what's your biggest challenge. I ask them that in your family growing up, who were you? And almost every time there is a pause because nobody's ever asked them that before, at least not in a leadership context. But by the end of this video, I think that you'll understand why it might be the most important question that anyone has ever asked you about how you lead. My name is Damon Blakeley, and I've spent 27 years leading inside of organizations. And here's what I've come to believe, that the thing that's systematically wearing down the best leaders isn't the job. That there's a force operating inside of every organization that you've ever led. And most leaders never see it. It's not because you're not smart enough, but it's because nobody trained you to look for it. You were trained to lead the visible parts of the job, the strategy, the execution, the people. But nobody ever trained you for the part that's invisible and dangerous. It's called an emotional system. That every time people come together, it's there. It exists. It's the invisible network of anxiety, reactivity, and relationship patterns that's running underneath every team that you've ever been a part of. Every board, every organizational unit has it. And this is interesting. Don't miss this. That the family you grew up in is where it was initiated. And inside that system, everyone had a function, everyone had a role. And that function or role, it served the need that your family needed it to serve at that time. And that position is what the systems run through. In fact, it's how an invisible thing becomes a visible pattern. And here's something interesting about that emotional system, is that it was running long before you ever led anyone. It was running when you were 7 years old, sitting at that dinner table. You probably felt its effects at work without ever seeing the cause. The executive who quietly takes over a project because no one else seems to be doing it right. The leader who goes silent in the exact meeting where your voice is needed the most. Or maybe the disagreement that seems to come out of nowhere and everywhere all at once. Now, here's what I want you to sit with, that those are not random, that they're patterns, they're roles. And most of them you've learned before you ever had a job. Every family runs on unspoken roles, unspoken functions, the part that you played in how the family actually felt and operated. Maybe you were the one that everyone leaned on. Maybe you were the kid who kept the peace no matter what it cost you. Maybe you were the one that nobody worried about, which sounds nice. It does, until you realize that it meant that nobody noticed when you needed help either. Maybe you were the one who made everybody laugh right when things got worse, intense. Let me go first. In my family, I was the smart one, the star, right? The good at school, good at sports type. The one who people looked up to, the one who people pointed to. Interestingly enough, I was voted the most likely to succeed in high school. However, in ninth grade, because I was too embarrassed to ask for help, I failed algebra. And because I failed, I lost my spot on the band trip that year. We were going to Disneyland. And people who wanted to support me had already given me money for that trip. But I was too embarrassed to let them know that I had failed. So I did what many of us would do. I took it without saying anything. I eventually gave the money back, but here's what I actually learned. That I'm supposed to have it all together because failing is not an option. After all, the smart one doesn't ask for help, even when I'm failing. And I hope you know that that's not really a story about algebra, but it's a story about a role that I learned to play. And here's what I want you to actually do. I want you to pause the video if you need to and finish this sentence. In my family, I was the one who, and you fill in the blank. Whatever you just said, I do want you to know that this is not a trivia about your childhood. That's a role, a function. And roles don't retire when you get your first leadership title. They just change costumes. Because the person who kept the peace becomes the executive who can't say the hard things to the board. The one who is counted on to fix everything becomes the leader who can't stop taking over other people's work. The smart one becomes the leader who still can't say, I don't understand this, in a room full of people who report to her. Now, here's the good news, and I do mean that this isn't a life sentence. Because most leadership advice tries to fix what's broken on the surface. Better delegation, better communication, motivationally inspired speeches. And that's not nothing, but it doesn't touch what's actually underneath. And what I'm after, what I've spent 27 years coming to understand, is something different. It's becoming what I call an integrated leader. That's a high functioning, a high level leader who leads from principle instead of reactivity, who stays close to people without absorbing everything that they're carrying. The kind of leader that people are drawn to, not because of your title or what people can get from you, but because of how you think and how you make them feel. And that's rare. It is. It's not a personality trait that some people are born with. It's something that you can actually learn deliberately and with the right lens. Here's what's coming on this channel. I'm going to walk through some of the most common roles and functions that I see most prominent in leadership. The ones that I named and a few others. And if any part of what you said a minute ago is still sitting with you, then that's probably a good sign that you are in the right place. Subscribe if you want to be here for that. And in the comments, I genuinely want to know, who were you in your family?